Hey guys! Okay, so to start off my Grace and Frankie series, I thought I would do some character videos on the kids, starting with my favorite kid, Nwabudike Bergstein. He usually went by Bud. He was played by Baron Vaughn and was Frankie and Saul's, I believe, their youngest son. And before I get any more into this, I do want to say there will be spoilers for the entire series, including what just came out in April. I'm so sorry. I feel like I probably should have been saying that for Golden Girls as well. That is totally my bad. Anyway, right from the start, Bud was easily my favorite. He was, a really nice guy, and what storylines and development he got, for the most part, I thought were quite good. However, he didn't get that much in comparison to the other kids. Like, those kids, the storylines were definitely not divided equally. Brianna and Mallory, I found overall, specifically, well, Brianna especially, but Mallory as well, got not necessarily more development, but more storylines than Coyote and Bud. I would actually argue that, out of all four, it was actually Coyote who got the most character development. But whatever way you look at it, Bud was the most shortchanged of the four, I would say, which is too bad because, again, he was my favorite, and I felt like there was a lot of wasted potential there. I'm not quite sure why the division of storylines happened the way it did. I suspect it was just, it was just the way it happened. I doubt there was anything deliberate going on there, except for maybe Brianna. It felt like the writers really did favor her a lot. I'm not 100% sure why that is. I'll get into that in the Brianna video, though. Okay, anyway, back to Bud. I'll talk about my problems with this lack of storylines a bit more in a bit. So first of all, let's get into some personality. Okay, so Bud was a really nice guy. He was a good man. He was just a very supportive person to his family, especially his brother, but he supported everyone. I mean, not everyone, but most people at some point or another throughout the series. And for the most part, he seemed to enjoy that role, even if he was, pretty underappreciated. At least I think he enjoyed the role. I mean, that's the impression I got. Maybe I read that wrong, but if I did, that's totally my bad. But yeah, no, I think he definitely felt underappreciated at times. Like, he was kind of walked all over by the family. I mean, there was the time when at his birthday party when it turned into just, all the stuff coming out with with Robert buying Grace the presents and the Kenny Loggins thing with Saul and Frankie. And that kind of ruined his party, which that sucked for him. And again, it happened a few times. Like, he was just kind of walked all over, and I think that kind of maybe bothered him a little more than maybe he let on. But again, he did seem like he enjoyed being the dependable one. Still, though, I definitely think maybe he did want to be appreciated a little more. I feel like that really came out in the season 6 episode where he has his he finds his biological cousin, I think it was. Well, he didn't find the cousin, not exactly, but we'll get into that later. Anyways, and the guy needs a kidney from Bud. And, at first he's, surprised and, that probably wasn't quite what he was expecting. But then he comes around to the idea and he seems really happy to, be getting acknowledged for doing something good, instead of always being sort of the unsung hero of the family. So I thought that was interesting, and I wish they'd expanded on that more instead of just having the episode end and sort of, for the most part, forgetting about it as far as I can think of. Which, again, that just, I feel like that happened about a lot. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much your first personality. Oh yeah, besides, I do want to say, I definitely enjoyed, when he had moments, of course, where he did lose his temper, because how could he not? And I thought those were good moments and played well. I felt very, relatable, because, I mean, can't speak for anyone else, but, I've had my moment of losing patience with people. Also, I enjoyed his comedy stuff, like when he was being going to be a comedian. I enjoyed that. I thought that was for the most part well done. Okay. Now into some relationships. Let's start with Allison, his wife. I don't think Bud had any other relationships before Allison. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So yeah, Allison. First of all, oh my god. I'm sorry, I don't like Allison very much. And I don't necessarily, it feels like the writers didn't really know what they were doing with her, in my opinion. Like, when she showed up, so the others, mostly when they had a long-term relationship, we sort of saw how that relationship started, or we were at least given some background on it. But with Bud and Allison, did we even know how they met? Like, maybe they said, I just can't remember, but from what I can remember, she just kind of showed up at Frankie's art show in season 3, and then they were in a relationship. Like, we saw the proposal and everything, but like, how did the relationship start? Like, I would have been just curious to know a little more backstory about that. If I'm wrong about that, that's my bad. And in general, it sort of felt like Allison just sort of served whatever the story needed her to be. Like, we know she's a hypochondriac, and they're consistent with that, but otherwise, I don't know, it just kind of feels like she is whatever the plot requires her to be, whether that just be, comic relief, or taking Bud's DNA. Oh, I really hate that so much. Like, I hate it with a furious passion. We did sort of get a little bit of background on Allison when we found out about her family. They, we sort of found out how she was treated by her family, which was not good. Especially by her father. But, it's not enough. Like, I just wanted to know more about Allison. I don't know. But as a couple, I felt like they worked for the most part. Except for when Allison did things like steal Put's DNA, or didn't she track his phone? I mean, I know she was concerned, and I get why she was concerned, because Bud was acting a little bit, he didn't want her to know what was going on, so it kind of did look a little suspicious. But that's not the way, Allison. That's not the way. And again, if I'm wrong, I wasn't 100%. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, definitely tracked her phone. Tracked his phone. Now that I'm thinking about it. Sorry, guys. I feel like these talks are getting way more chaotic than they were before. But oh well, it's what it is. Anyway, for the most part, I thought they worked. I liked seeing them as parents. Although I wish we'd seen more of that. I absolutely understand why we couldn't see more of the baby. I totally get that. But I wish they'd at least talked about Faith some more, and made reference to I don't know what she was doing, or just sort of made reference to her. Like, I've definitely seen shows do that, where they don't have the kids on screen, but they talk about them, so we kind of they feel like they're present, if that makes any sense. And I kind of wish they'd done more of that, specifically in season 7. But that was nice to see, and I think them as a couple worked pretty well. I liked their wedding scene, even if that wasn't their wedding was just one of my favorite things of the whole series, even if it wasn't necessarily all about them, which kind of sucked. But yeah, that was good. And I liked seeing Bud stand up to Allison's dad, because she deserved that, and I'm glad to see that they definitely love each other. It's very clear to see. Okay, so now into some familiar relationships. Bud and Coyote, the relationship between them is a very good brother relationship. It feels very well thought out. Their scenes always work good together. They work well together. Like, they have a lot of on-screen brother chemistry. I like that. And again, I like seeing just them being brothers. It's good. Good times. His relationship with his parents was pretty good. I think, sometimes they definitely could maybe depend on him a little too much, I think, like, I'm thinking of one of my least favorite episodes ever just because of this. Frankie, it's after Frankie and Grace have the fight about the gun, which that is a topic for another video, and we will definitely talk about it. But they have that fight, and then Frankie, basically, Frankie and Coyote basically crash Bud and Allison's dinner, and it's cringy and awful. Like, Bud and Allison trying to have like a romantic evening, and it's just, ooh, just I hate it so much. And it's just one of those times where I'm like, really? But I do think they were good parents for the most part. Oh yeah, I will say, okay, in season 2, Frankie makes a okay. Context here. Grace and Frankie are talking about like Frankie not doing housework or something like that, and Frankie makes a comment about when she lived with Saul, Bud did most of the cleaning, which to me had some. I hated it because like it was funny in the moment, but then the more I thought about it, the more I hated it because it had some weird implications to me about Frankie and Saul's parenting. So I just want to specify what I think. Maybe when they were older, Bud, helped out around the house quite a bit. I could definitely see him doing that. But when they were younger, I definitely don't think like Bud was having to do a lot of chores. I don't think that like any more chores than you'd have any kid doing because you want them to learn stuff. But I think they had good parents. I don't think they were put in a position where they had to do extra like too much work or had to grow up too fast. I don't think Frankie and Saul were that kind of parents. I just needed to specify that while I was thinking about it because it's something that's always bugged me. Anyway. Oh yeah. I'm not really sure where to put this, so, like, I'll put it here because why not? I liked how when Coyote told Bud that he'd found his biological mother and wanted to get in contact, I think it was that he'd found her. It was either that or he was looking for her, but he definitely wanted to get in contact. And Bud was sort of, like, his reaction was, like, it was clear it wasn't something that he wanted. Like, I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to think of the exact line, because it was something, like, Coyote asked, like, don't you want to, like, know, like, your biological roots or something like that, and Bud responded, like, not enough, like, he wasn't curious enough about it. I thought that was interesting, and I liked that they had one of those kids want to know about their biological roots, and one just didn't. I thought that was a very good sort of rounded view on it, and I'm glad they went there. Okay, so now for the plot section. I didn't have this in Golden Girls because, well, this has a lot more, like, sort of multi, like, season-long plots than Golden Girls did. So yeah, plots. Bud did not have many. I should probably call this plots and storylines, but whatever. Yeah, Bud did not have many. He was, he had his overall plot with Allison, which was what it was. Sort of gone over that. He had his comedian plot at the end, which I did think was pretty good for the most part, again, because I could totally see why being a lawyer was maybe what he'd been expected to do from the start, or maybe it was what he really wanted to do in the past, and now he's just realizing it's not what he wants. I kind of wish Allison had handled that better too, actually. Like, she really, I don't know, it really felt like she wasn't, like, you could just say she was busy and distracted and not really thinking about it, but I don't know, I just wish she'd come off a little more supportive. And right at the end, like, I don't know, I just wish they'd handled the whole Allison accepting what Bud really wanted to do a little bit better than they did. But while the whole plot, there were parts that weren't handled the best in my opinion, I definitely thought overall it was good just because of, like, the feelings behind it. I thought that was interesting. And, We want Bud to be happy. That's good. That's important. Yeah, he had that. He had, you know, like I said, the kidney plot and the whole DNA plot thing, which again wasn't even until that episode. It really didn't really get was about him as much as it was about Allison and Saul. I hate that Allison did that. I hate that Saul was okay with it. I hate that Robert didn't say anything to Bud. I know why he didn't, but still hate it. And, you know, he had, for sure, he was in a lot of other plots. Like, he was, you know, he was in a lot. But most of those plots weren't really revolved around him. They were revolving around, you know, Grace and Frankie, or Robert and Saul, or Brianna, or Coyote, or whatever. Like, it just felt like there was not enough Bud-centric stories, and that is just really too bad. So, yeah. Now, I just want to finish off, like I usually do, by talking about some favorite moments. So, first of all, just some things that make me laugh every time. One is in season 2, when Bud is talking to Coyote, and he kind of loses it and just starts talking about, like, all the things, you know, going on in his life, and just about how he has to work for his, what was it, soon-to-be ex-stepfather, boss, uncle. Just the way that line was delivered was beautiful, and it was hilarious. Also, in that same season, when he's doing the wedding email that he didn't really mean to send with dictation. Listen, I use dictation on a daily basis. So seeing the screw up like that was just, it was hilarious. It was hilarious to me far, far more than it probably actually was. And again, I love seeing, not Coyote, jeez. I love seeing Bud just with his family and having good moments with, you know, his mom and his dad. I wish we'd had more moments between him and, like, anyone, and, like, anyone, like, you know, Grace, Brianna, Mallory, but specifically, I wish we'd had more moments with him and Robert, because Robert's his stepdad, and I wish we'd had more moments, because we had a good moment between Robert and Coyote after Robert had his heart attack, but Bud and Robert really didn't have, unless I'm forgetting something big, they really didn't have a lot of moments, and I wish we'd seen that. But again, I wish we'd seen it with all of them. Just him specifically, I wish we'd seen it more of, because again, we did see it with Coyote. And yeah, that covers Bud, I think. Like I said, definitely my favorite kid, but I wish they'd done more with his character. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back pretty soon, hopefully, with the next video, which will be on Bud's brother, Coyote. For the kids, I'm doing this in order of favorite to least favorite. Usually I do it the other way around. I guess, well, kind of the Golden Girls didn't really end up being that way, but I just figured I would switch it up a little bit. All right, so yeah, I will see you guys later.